What is going on, Moto friends? My name is Mike, and today I'm going to be doing an in-ride review of the new Ducati Monster 937, bike that I've owned for a few months now. Check out my other in-ride review I just did of the Triumph Tiger 1200 Rally Pro, which was a lot of fun. In this video, I'm going to be talking about all the key features, specifications, and facts about this motorcycle. I'll be giving you a rundown of the pros and cons that I've noticed while owning this bike. And then stick around to the end. I'll also be talking about if this may be a good motorcycle for beginner riders, which I didn't think it would be, but, you know, it might just be. So before we start talking about the new model that I'm riding, let's talk about the Ducati Monster history a little bit. So the Monster was first introduced in 1993 in a 904cc air-cooled engine. Over the years, it went through a lot of permutations, and most notably in 2014, it switched to a completely liquid-cooled engine, which is what you see in the current Monster models. This bike has been very popular for Ducati, with approximately 300,000 units sold, which accounts for maybe 42% of their total sales over the years. So a very popular motorcycle that has withstood the test of time. Now, one of the key features that has stayed with this motorcycle since 1993 has been the trellis frame, which a lot of Ducati enthusiasts and purists really love. Which brings us to 2021. This is when Ducati decided to redesign the Monster to the version that I am riding today. The biggest change came with eliminating the trellis frame that had been popular for so long. And as you can imagine, this caused quite an uproar amongst the true Ducati enthusiasts that had been around since the 90s. But for me, I am new to Ducati, and I actually love the new frame design. So with the current model, they're basing their frame off of the Panigale, which allows it to be a significantly lighter frame, coming in at a curb weight of 414 pounds. This makes this motorcycle very maneuverable, very flickable, and just super to ride. Also, with eliminating the trellis frame, it gave this motorcycle a more aggressive and sleek look, in my opinion. This kind of goes with the sportiness of the Panigales and even the Street Fighter, which is kind of a more aggressive, sporty motorcycle. So while getting rid of the trellis frame, they may have upset some enthusiasts, but others, like me, really love this new design. So once we get to some roads over here, I'm going to be talking about the engine, suspension, transmission, all those good things. It is a beautiful fall day out here. Take a look around. The leaves are just starting to turn. I'm going to turn off here and you'll be able to see some really nice farmland. All right. Here we go. Yeah, take a look. It's just gorgeous out here today. It's a cool day, 55 degrees, but got a little winter jacket on top of my motorcycle jacket, so we're going to make it work for this video. So, all right, let's talk about the engine. So this engine is a 937cc Testastretta 11-degree twin engine with desmodomic valves. Puts out 111 horsepower at 9250 RPM and 69 pound-feet of torque at 6500 RPM. So while that top-end horsepower number might not be impressive to a lot of people, that low-down torque at 6,500 RPM is what really makes this motorcycle fun to ride in city settings, curvy road settings. This is not a highway screamer that's going to, you know, beat other people in a straight line, but around the turns, like, you'll be able to really do some work. So now talking about the suspension a little bit. This is one of the things that does underwhelm me a little bit about this motorcycle, especially at the price point. So the rear suspension is a preload adjustable monoshock, but the front suspension is just unadjustable forks. At this price range, I would have really liked to see an adjustable suspension. So if you like the Monster and you do want to go with an adjustable suspension, you're going to have to go with the Monster SP, which is significantly more expensive. I did make a video talking about the differences between the Monster, Monster Plus, Monster SP, and the new 30th edition Ducati Monster. So if you have time, check that video, and I'll place a little link above so it's easier for you to navigate. Otherwise, though, the suspension is a bit on the softer side, but good for road riding. All right, I apologize for that delay. Another group of motorcycles just passed me by, and my Cardo was trying to connect with their Pack Talk. So hopefully you can still hear me. We're going to keep talking. We're talking about the suspension, talking about how it might not be great for track use in the current configuration, but the Monster SP does have the Öhlins shocks, and it's adjustable in the front and rear. So if you do want more track use, you can go with the SP. It also has the Öhlins front damper, which is nice at high speed. But, you know, for a street bike, this suspension does the trick. Doesn't particularly feel boggy. There is some crispness to the turns, so I have enjoyed it so far. So now, we can talk about the transmission a little bit. Offers a 6-speed transmission with wet slipper clutch, and it does offer up and down quick shifting, which is fantastic. And the rev matching on the way down is quite good. So I'll give you an example right now. We're in 4th gear, about 4,000 RPM, speed bump coming up. Drop down to 3, drop down to 2, and it's really not very jerky at all. The only jerkiness I feel in this quick shifter is going up from 1 to 2. I can show you an example of that right now. So 2, we're in 1. Oh, let's accelerate here. Yeah, so it gives you a little bump when it's going up to 2. But above that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, very smooth up and down. All right, now we're on another street, so we can talk a little about the electronics, which I think is one of the better features of this motorcycle. So it comes with a color LCD dash display, which gives you your speed, your gear, your RPM. It also gives you your total mile, engine temperature, and air temperature, which is nice if you want to know what temperature it is when you're riding to figure out what gear to wear. It also gives you the possibility to access the launch control menu, which is how you accelerate quickly. It basically uses the computer to help with your clutch release and your rev matching so you can accelerate faster. I won't be able to show you that today, but I will make a separate video about the Ducati launch control, so stay tuned. It gives you quartering ABS, traction control, and 3 riding modes, which give you a nice selection of traction control and anti-lock brake settings. It also features full LED headlights, taillights, turn indicators, which are a nice touch, especially at this price point. So I did a video specifically talking about the ride mode, so I won't be talking about them completely today. But in short, there is a city mode, which drops the horsepower of this motorcycle down to around 75 horsepower. There's a touring mode, which is a standard mode, which is good for everyday riding. I'm in this mode right now, actually. And then there's a sport mode, which changes the shifting and gearing a little bit in 1st and 2nd gear and allows you for quicker accelerations and a twitchier, faster throttle response. It is very sunny today. Hopefully you guys can see through the camera without too much glare. I'm going to be turning off here and giving you a little bit of an acceleration and pull so you can kind of see what this motorcycle can do. Alright, here we are. So, before that, let me just change into the sport mode. So you do that by pressing the thumb menu here, holding it down, and then you see your options, Sport, Touring, Urban. We're going to go from Touring to Sport, click in the mode, and it is ready to go. So I'll just give you an acceleration once this car passes by. And I'll do a nice quick acceleration from 1st, maybe from a roll, we'll do a 30 pull for you, similar to what I did in the Triumph Tiger. So I'll wait for that car to go a little bit, and we'll get started. So here we go. Get it nice and easy up to around 30, and we'll get a nice pull going. All right, let's do it. All right, look at that. That is impressive stuff. In sport mode, the front end does come up a little bit, which is a nice feeling. And you can edit that into your own personal settings menu. So if you want, more pull, more torque, you want to raise that front end a little bit, you can easily do that on this bike. You can also turn off the assistance features, including the Ducati wheelie control, if you want to wheelie. This bike has such good low-down torque that wheeling is not very difficult. Unfortunately, that's not my thing, so I will not be showing you any wheelies or power wheelies today, but you get the idea. There's probably a lot of other YouTubers you can check out for that kind of stuff. So the nice thing also about the Sport is the responsiveness of the throttle. So when you're going around turns like this, you can really drop it down, lean a little bit, turn out, and right on the throttle again. Very fun to ride. So the brakes are Brembo brakes, so the braking is quite good, as you can see here, 2, 1. It's a very fun road, so I'm just going to stop talking and ride a little bit and check out what this bike can do. It's a nice little turn here. Slow down. get the idea. Very nice. There's a lot of debris on the road, so I don't want to drive as fast as I can usually go on here. I don't want to hit a stick or something, but very responsive throttle in sport mode, and I'll just keep it in sport mode the rest of the time so you can really hear that engine and get an idea of the throttle and acceleration. The engine sound you're hearing is through a slip-on exhaust. It's the SC Project CRT dual tip carbon and titanium exhaust system. I just did an install video on that, and it was super simple, and it does improve the sound quite a bit. You hear a lot of popping when you're slowing down, so it's a lot of fun to ride with this compared to the stock exhaust. But the stock exhaust is not bad on this motorcycle, so it's really a personal preference. If you want to go over the slip-on or a full system, you definitely could do something like that. So we covered the electronics a little bit. It does give you quite a bit of rider aids, and again, you can modify them to your liking and to your comfort level. Some of the other things, the tires are Diablo Pirelli Rosso 3s, which are quite nice tires. The SP does have the Rosso 4s, which are even nicer, but again, that's a more premium build, premium livery, so you can always change your tires out at the next change also if you need. Check out this area here. It's really beautiful, especially in the fall. We have all the cornfields drying up, some of the old barns in this area. This part of town, there's also horse country, so you'll see a lot of horse farms and fenced-in horse pastures. It's really fun to ride in the summer, seeing the horses running around. But soon, it's going to be a little too cold to be riding this bike in the winter, so I might be switching over to the Triumph Tiger, because it has the hand wind guards, it has heated grips. You can get heated grips on this Ducati Monster, but that's an option. But without any sort of fairings or wind protection, it's still, I feel like, would be too cold unless you have proper winter gear for this motorcycle. For me, this is more kind of a spring to fall bike, and then the Triumph Tiger can be a great winter bike, especially for longer rides. Stuck behind this car a little bit, so hopefully he pulls off. There's usually not too many people on this roads, but we shall see. Oh, luckily they did turn, so here we go. No need to pass. Alright, so back to our discussion. So, you've heard about the engine, the suspension, the electronics, the features, all that stuff you can read about, actually. So, I wanted to give you my input as an actual owner, so you can get an idea of if this bike is worth owning for you. So, some things I've really loved about this motorcycle since buying it, and I started on a BMW G310, a pretty light, small motorcycle. This motorcycle handles and feels very similar to that bike because of its low weight. The wheelbase is pretty narrow, and it handles just fantastic around turns like this. We're going to get to a nice little technical turns area, and I'll kind of shut up and let you see what this bike can do, but super impressed with the handling and overall acceleration of this motorcycle. Very responsive throttle, very stable in turns, very nice tire, very nice grip. Another thing I really enjoy are the different riding modes. You can go kind of casually riding around in touring mode, but then when you want to step it up, you can pop it in sports mode. This bike has a completely different character, different life to it. Another thing I've really enjoyed doing are the various modifications, and you've probably seen some of my modification videos. This bike is very easy to modify and very easy to do with high-end parts. So Rizoma makes a ton of lovely accessories for this motorcycle, so I've done turn indicators, a tail tidying, new mirrors. That actually kind of loops well into one of the cons. The engine, the bodywork, kind of the ride quality of this bike are fantastic, but they focus so much effort on that. The other accessories and features aren't as clean as I would expect from a high-end product like this. So, starting with the mirrors, they came with these very flimsy plastic mirrors. They were very tough to adjust. I actually snapped one of them off in the beginning because I wasn't sure how to adjust it. So not really the quality I would expect from a company like Ducati. So I switched those mirrors out, no problem. But, you know, when you're already paying a premium price and then, you know, paying for premium accessories, it could get quite expensive. Another area I noticed this kind of lack of finishing, lack of quality, are the exhaust welds. They were very sloppy when I was turning out the slip-on system. I would have expected something a little bit cleaner, but again, they're not an exhaust manufacturer, so I understand it, I just don't love it. Another thing that I noticed, especially in the summer, is how quickly this motorcycle heats up. So right now it's 54 degrees Fahrenheit, kind of chilly. The engine temperature is at 149 Fahrenheit, which is very nice. And the heat actually feels pretty good on my thighs, so complaints. When you're riding around in the summer, it's, even 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite warm. The engine starts feeling very hot, so unless you're quickly, you're going to feel that heat. So they advertise this motorcycle as, great for the city, great for commuting. I don't know, if you're standing in traffic, stop and go, and burning your inner thigh up, that's not going to be that comfortable. So that is, one of my bigger cons is the engine heat. But from what I've read on forums and other things, Ducati engines do tend to run hot. So let me take a pause with the pros and cons. We're in a little section here. We can do a little sport riding. So I'm going to shut up and just enjoy. Some nice sweeping turns coming around here. This thing flies. Nice little turn coming in here, up sweeping. Gotta get into first, though. Wait, that was a nice little section. I always like riding around here. Here it gets a little sketchier with all the wood and stuff in the road, so I'm just gonna slow it down so I don't eat it here on these turns. But so anyway, we can get back into our pros and cons and then wrap up this review. So the engine heat, is kind of an issue for me in the summer. Luckily, I do ride mostly in these types of back roads, so I can get that wind, especially if you're going 80, 90 miles an hour. Occasionally, you can cool off the engine pretty quickly at those speeds, but otherwise, if you're, puttering around at 35, 40 miles an hour, it's could get uncomfortable in the hot summer weather. Lack of finishing we talked about, that's an issue for me. Highway riding also, I don't find very pleasant on this motorcycle, and in general, I think for most sports naked bikes, this is a tough thing to do. Since there's no fairing, no wind protection, if you're doing longer highway rides, you feel a lot of wind on your chest, on your neck, on your head, and, it just, after a while, it does not feel very comfortable. You can get some neck stiffness and back stiffness, so I typically don't do a lot of highway riding on this bike. So before I started riding, I wouldn't have thought that a Ducati would be a great beginner motorcycle. But after riding this bike, I think it could be. So with the rider assistance features like the ABS, the traction control, the wheelie control, this computer really tries to help you out as a rider. Now if you're advanced, you can turn all that stuff off, but as a beginner, you can use all those features to help yourself learn how to control this motorcycle. You drop it down into city mode, which cuts the horsepower to around 75 horsepower. You really get some practice and kind of omit any danger you might get from the full 111 horsepower. And also in Europe, they offer a 47 horsepower version of this motorcycle for A2 license holders. Don't have that in the United States because, we love our power, we love our fast bikes. But if you live in Europe and any other countries that do offer that, that might be a nice place to start if you want the Ducati features, the Ducati look, the Ducati sound. Like those are all the things you're paying for. So you have a premium price tag on this motorcycle with, some features that aren't completed perfectly, but where it matters, the look, the sound, the name, it's a fantastic motorcycle. So overall, after owning this bike for months, do I have any regrets? And no, I do not think so. This is a great upgrade to that BMW G310 that I started on. It offers me a lot of power and very usable power at that, right? So if you're buying some of these super bikes, 1000cc bikes, screamers, you're probably not going to be using the bike to its full potential. You're not going to be, or you shouldn't be at least, riding on the highway 200 miles an hour, full throttle, 6 gear. This bike, you can use a lot of this torque down low in the 6,500 RPM range and really get an enjoyable time, especially if you live in an area with a lot of curvy roads, twists and turns. This motorcycle is built for that stuff. It is a lot of fun. Always have a smile on my face when I'm riding it. Alright guys, thank you for watching. It's been a fun ride. I hope you've got some useful information out of this video. Be sure to follow along with the channel. I'll be doing a lot more of these reviews on motorcycles that I purchase, motorcycles that I borrow. So it's going to be a fun channel, I think. Alright guys, let's keep riding. Enjoy. I'll catch you next time.